Welcome to the Movie Draft Podcast. I'm Ethan Simi, and I am joined today by my wonderful co-host, Ben Lawhorn.
Hello.
And our incredible guest for this episode, Tyler Beck.
I'd rather be a pig than a fascist.
I was really hoping someone would just say that to kick this off. Thank you very much. And today we are collaboratively drafting Hayao Miyazaki films. Guys, this has been a pod a long time in the making. I think we had this on our 2024 schedule for like many months ago. And then we were like, we're going to do it. This is going to happen. And then life happened. And we were like, I can't watch all these Miyazaki films before next week when we record. So we pushed it out, but we're here now. And Tyler, you're here with us. How are you? As I ask as soon as you take a drink of water.
No,
like
you're good.
Poor host I am.
No. I was pacing it. I knew I knew I could sneak it in. You look, it's been a while since I've been on a podcast, but you know, I can still throw the fastball if I need to. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing super good. It's funny you say that we didn't have time to watch all the Miyazaki films before we recorded. And that still remains to be true. I'm missing one. I'm missing one.
Not qualified for the draft.
I know. I'm really bummed. So I'll see my way out, and it was nice to see you guys, and good luck with the rest of the draft.
Well, I appreciate you putting the energy on just to show up for this portion of the recording, and just to do a little face-to-face action there.
Well, I told you I'd be here, so
it's trryou you did. We initially had your guys' other counterpart, part of the Three Films in a Pod kind of group, Matt Weiler, unfortunately couldn't join us today. He went more of the indirect route and just said, you know what, I actually can't be there, but that's okay because it's the three of us, and I'm really excited that we're doing this. Ben, how are you? It feels like it's been a while since we've recorded a podcast, not to the listeners, but to us at least.
Yeah, it does feel like it's been a little bit. I had to dust off the mic before I sat down here, but it's good to be back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like you said, this has been in the making for a while, but this has been some of my favorite homework that we've done as far as like prepping for a pod. So I'm excited to talk about Miyazaki films. It was fun to discover new ones. I think this is going to be a fun draft. Hopefully the diehard Miyazaki fans won't be offended by anything that we do here.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, but I'm excited to get into this draft.
I agree with you. I feel while prepared, having seen all of these films now, I was putting in the work and the homework, as you mentioned, doing some homework for this pod. I watched 11 Miyazaki movies. There are a total of 12. I had seen one recently enough where I felt confident. 10 new watches, one rewatch, and I got all of them done in the last 11 days. Yeah. So I was putting in the work, and while enjoyable and a really great time to prepare what is sure to be an interesting collaborative draft, I am not a Miyazaki super fan. Like, I don't live and die by Spirited Away. So I do hope, as you say, Ben, that we do some service for the Miyazaki heads out there. I hope we do okay. I think that we should all agree right now that the movie that Tyler hasn't seen should just go at number 1 automatically. I don't know what it is. I don't know what movie it is, but
honestly, that's probably fine. Like, so you guys are talking about hopefully we can do the Miyazaki heads right. I'm super curious to see how this one goes, because I think just from what I've seen in Letterboxd as I've been doing my homework, I watched I can't even remember however many over the past week or so. I think 8. And I get the sense that like people have very like wildly different tastes when it comes to their preference in Miyazaki. So like, I don't know that I'm curious to know if there is like a right answer, you know what I mean? And I think that's where a lot of I don't know about contention is going to come from, but I'm just interested to see like what everyone's taste is in Miyazaki and how it all comes together. I think it's wildly different, because I think he's got something for everyone in each of his entries of his filmography. So I'm super curious to see not only how it shakes out for us three here on the draft, but yeah, like what the people say online after we
Yeah.
post the
Yeah.
results, because I just think it's different for everyone.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's something that I learned going through this homework is that there are obviously multiple sides to Miyazaki. There are multiple depths, and there are definitely some versions of what he does that I enjoy more than others. And I
Yeah.
am interested and excited to get into that conversation. Ben, did you find that to be the case with with yourself as well? I know you know, in classic Ben fashion, haven't really logged anything on Letterboxd, so I've got no idea how you in particular feel about Miyazaki.
Yeah, I feel like at best there's 3 films that'll be logged on my letterbox as of right now.
Yeah.
Because we did, you know, we had an old podcast, 3 films on a podcast, and one of our rounds was Miyazaki, and some of those were first watches for me. So I also do kind of have an affinity for those films, and I'm sure that'll play its way into this draft. But yeah, it was interesting. Like I hadn't seen his super early stuff, and I hadn't seen a lot of the recent stuff either. So it was kind of cool to see how much he's like developed, I guess, over this time. And what was also like something that was there from the beginning. Like, oh yeah, I can kind of tell this is a Miyazaki thing from the beginning. So yeah.
He's been making movies for 44 years. That's a long and prosperous filmmaking career. His first film,
He retired like 4 times too.
Yeah.
yes.
I love it.
Retired a lot. The Boy and Heron, his most recent film from 2023, obviously rumored to be his last. I believe there's been rumblings as of like when the movie came out of like it's not actually his last. We haven't heard any ground like moving on that. But 44 years nonetheless is quite a long career. There are 3 movies in this 44-year time span that he did not direct. He wrote, he executive produced or supervised produced. They will not be eligible for this draft. So we're only going to cover the 12 that then Miyazaki himself directed, but we'll get into the logistics of the draft here in just a second. Tyler, I did want to mention, last time you were on here, directorial debut auction draft, episode 45 a couple of months ago. I'm glad to have you back so soon. And yeah, it was the 3 of us plus Adam Pulcher, a beloved guest here on the show as well. I don't remember what our teams were, but today, collaborative, different than auction last time. Are you ready for the changeover?
I'm pretty sure I participated in a collaborative draft before.
You have. I'm pretty sure you have.
Another animated round. Yeah, I was on here for the Pixar collab.
Pixar ones.
Oh, yeah, I think that was a poor showing for Monsters University on that episode.
But a good one for Luca. We got Luca on the board, that's for sure.
Yeah. That was a good time. I do love Luca. I wonder what our team was for that. I got to do a better job of organizing these draft tabs that I
what else you got going on, man? Like, come on, you should have everything just ready to go.
This pod is my life, and so it does concern me that I don't have these things at the ready at all times. Of course, every time that you are on the pod, Tyler, or you are at least mentioned on the pod, I do have to make a shout out that you did let me have Mad Max Fury Road on the sports draft, and I just want to say I appreciate you. I catch a lot of flack for that on a weekly basis, and I'm proud of it.
I'm still not sure what I was thinking.
You were thinking correctly, is what you're thinking. Okay.
I don't know if I was. I mean, whatever. We don't need to litigate a draft from 2 years ago.
Ben, you freaking gaslighted me. Got Luke on the board. It's at 8. It should be at number 1. What the hell is going on?
I think there's a lot of people who don't think it should be on the board at all. And
that's insane.
We're glad that it's on there.
Wow. We're back week after week talking about monsters somehow on this draft. Of course, last week we did the movie monsters draft. When we did the Pixar collab draft, that was me, you guys, and Sophie, of course, famously. Monsters Inc. at number 2 is a little deranged, I got to be honest. But whatever, we'll have to relitigate that at some point in time. Different animation today, Miyazaki. We already kind of talked about the prep that we did for this draft. A lot of first time watches. I would reckon that this is the most amount of first time watches any of us has ever done for a draft. At least it feels like that to me.
Yeah,
without a doubt, definitely for me. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me as well. And I wonder if that'll affect our layout at all. Like, I wonder if that'll impact just some recency bias about what we think of some of these movies.
Maybe.
we kind of already established a little bit that we're not really here for the Miyazaki heads. We're kind of just here for us and here for a little bit of a good time. Would you guys all agree to? How collaborative do you think we're going to end up getting on this draft? Always a point of contention here on these drafts.
Again, I'm curious to just know. I just think everyone's taste is a little bit different, and I think there's something about Miyazaki that really pulls you towards your specific tastes. You know, and I think that's really going to affect how some of us feel about certain movies. I mean, Ethan isn't quite as secretive about his Letterboxd as Ben is, and neither am I.
See,
so you guys might have a clue where I stand on a lot of these, and I know where you stand on some, Ethan, and I know that I'm a little bit lower on some and a little bit higher on some than you. So, you know, I don't know. I think it'll be cool, and in some ways I'm interested to, well, in a lot of ways I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say, because maybe it'll change my perspectives a little bit and make me see things from a different point of view.
This is what stems from basically being Kendall Roy and just being too online, is the fact that every time I come into a draft, it's like, oh, we already at least have an idea of what Ethan's going to be doing. Even when it comes to a collab draft, that is a terrible precedent. And I hate that about myself. Ben, no way I could live like you. There's no way I could have watched all these Miyazaki movies and just been like, I'll log them after the draft. That's psychotic.
I'll get after. I mean, to be clear, I logged them in my notes app after I watch them, so I don't have to remember.
That's even more psychotic. That's insane.
And then I can just copy and paste later.
Notes.
A beautiful mind.
Yeah, that's what I do.
It's literally why Letterboxd exists. You're depriving yourself of joy.
I mean, I just get the joy all at once. It just all happens at one time. When everyone's feed gets flooded with all my 12 Miyazaki reviews. I don't know. It was interesting. Ethan, I think you tweeted something about as you watch these movies that like some of these are definitely in your lane and others just aren't for you.
Yep.
And I'm excited to find out what those are, because like for me, not to say that I don't think he's made a bad movie. You know, I'll put it that way. My lowest rated is 3 stars, and there's only one of those. So I think he's like made pretty much hit after hit, you know, which is kind of crazy too when you talk about like GOAT directors and all that kind of shit. It's like, I think people like Del Toro's talked about give animation this pass. It was like, oh, it's for kids or whatever. It's like, but there's a lot of skill that goes into it, and it can be argued this guy has, I don't know, 7 fantastic films out of his 12, and the other 5 are good or great. You know, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. In my opinion, he hasn't missed yet. So I am curious to see what you'll be playing at the lower half there, Ethan.
I think the lower half is where this draft is going to get interesting.
Yeah.
Which is a little counterintuitive, because generally it's like, what are we putting in 6 through 1, you know? Yeah. And like how are we going to vie for these top spots? I have ranked all my Miyazaki films because I've now seen them all, unlike someone else on this draft, and I have that privated. And while my ratings are no secret, the lowest rated one I have is 3.5 stars. The highest one, I do have a single 5-star film. So I'm in that range, and that is public information, but my true ranking has been masked and disguised on my Letterboxd. Probably by the time that this draft comes out, it'll be public for the people to see. I think that my bottom 4 are a little bit of a hot take, and I'd be curious if that's the case. So I really don't know how this draft is going to play out at all.
Coming in at number 12. No, I'm not going to give away a movie.
Don't even give any ideas.
Don't give anything.
The bit's not worth it.
Nothing at all. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? You want to go over? You want to preface before we get into the logistics of a collaborative draft and start this process, this activity?
I don't have a lot more to go into, but I do just want to say, like, again, Tyler and I watched those same 3 for our other pod, so I'm curious for him where those are going to lie as well, because I can't help but have a bit of affinity for those films, just having spent some more time with them. As opposed to some of these others that I've been with for like 3 days now. So I'm curious about your low rankings, Ethan, and where these 3 films fall for Tyler. That's what I'm very curious about going into this draft.
Yeah. Well, I was a little worried that Ben might, because we talked about 3 specific Miyazaki movies pretty in depth, and I'm a little afraid he might have a little peek into my psyche when it comes to
Mm.
where I'm going to rank some of these. And, you know, I don't know how competitive this draft will be, but I'm just curious how much opinion is gonna weigh into this
Yeah.
versus like what do we think the zeitgeist feels about specific movies versus what we might feel about them.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
always think you should go with your heart. So whatever you
Mhm.
have at 3.5 stars, Ethan, please play it at 12. I've got three. I think I've got 2 3.5 stars and 3 5 stars on my list, and then ranges in between.
Wow.
I also have
Whoa.
a private list. I
Three
yeah,
5 stars?
yeah.
Wow.
I actually bumped 2 up when I was watching the rest of the Miyazaki's. I didn't rewatch these ones, but the more I thought about it, the more like it was almost like the rising tide raised all the boats. Like every
Mm,
movie I was logging, I was like banger, 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 heart, heart, heart.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I just there's something about Miyazaki, man. I'm not an animation hater by any means, but it's not something I really seek out. And so
Right.
Miyazaki has been like this strange blind spot for me, despite having loved everything I've ever seen from him. And so as I'm watching him, I'm like, yep, yep, yep. It's
Yep.
all bangers. And it just, once I got through that exercise, I'm like, okay, the top of this list needs to be bumped up to 5 stars. So,
Mhm.
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
I mean, I did say earlier that 10 of these 12 were first time watches, which is like
Yeah.
a huge, indicator that Miyazaki was a glaring open space in my filmography and my watch catalog. Listeners of the pod might know that I'm kind of an animation hater. I don't really seek out animation either, and it's just like not my thing in general.
Yeah.
And I respect Miyazaki a lot. After having gone through his entire filmography, Ben, you mentioned earlier, like you can really see the evolution from his first to his last, and you can
Mhm.
see what he's hanging on to, the things that he is keeping constant, the thematic elements that he keeps revisiting. But then as his animation changes, it's really interesting to see him grow and his ideas of what his visual language is. So I had kind of put him on a pedestal for a really long time and had just been like, well, there's no way I'll ever get through all of his filmography. And here we are. And I'm really happy that I have. Obviously, Tyler, you're in a little bit different boat having 3 5 stars, but I was able to find a new 5-star movie. Like I was able to find a new movie that will, without a doubt, be a comfort movie for me that I will probably end up rewatching a lot in my life. And I'm really
Yeah.
stoked about that. Where it goes, we shall see. And if it goes in a low spot, we're gonna have hell to pay. Things are gonna get really dicey really fast.
That's I hope. I really hope.
I feel pretty strongly about some of these films and the place that they should go. So let's talk about what our collaborative draft is. Let's lay out our rules. We'll go through the 12 eligible Miyazaki movies, and then we will draft and collaboratively put these in essentially a ranked order and a ranked list for Miyazaki here. So collaborative draft, right? Whether we're going to place the things we want in the spots that we want towards the top of the list, whether we want to work together to kind of collaboratively come up with what we think is an accurate Miyazaki list. There is only going to be one team, one graphic standing at the end of this, a collaborative board essentially ranking the entirety of the existing Miyazaki filmography. Now, I mentioned we're only doing the films that he has directed, so that means 1995's Whisper of the Heart, 2010's Arrietty, and 2011's From Up on Poppy Hill. Those 3 films are not eligible for this draft. They're the 3 that did not fall under his directorial jurisdiction. So we opted not to do those movies here. As always with collaborative drafts, we want to give a special shout out to Screen Drafts, wonderful podcast that has influenced this draft layout. Go check them out and listen to their show. Ben, can you walk us through the drafting order, the picks, the abilities before we list the titles and spin the spinner here?
I can. I would love to. We have 3 spots, drafter A, B, and C. Drafter C is going to get picks 11, 10, 6, and 3. Kind of a little bit lower on the draft order. Drafter B is going to get picked 12, 9, 5, and 2. And with that 2 spot, because we only have 12 films to choose from, they're kind of making up the number 1 spot as well. They kind of get to pick the top 2 films. And so drafter A will be picking spots 8, 7, 4, And again, one, but that'll be more ceremonial, just like announcing it. You don't really get to pick it. Because of that, drafter A is going to get 2 vetoes so that they will have a better opportunity to get maybe a movie that they want towards the top even higher. Drafter B will get the 1 veto that everybody gets. And drafter C, because they have kind of the lower picks, they will get a veto and they get the only veto override. The only rule with the veto override is you can't use it to help yourself. You have to use it on someone else's pick. So if Ethan decides to play the boy and the heron at 12 and Tyler's like, no, veto that, needs to go higher, but I feel that's the right spot for it, I could veto override. That gets rid of Tyler's veto. It's gone. And Boy and the Heron stands at 12. So those are the picks and the abilities.
Can I ask you an off the beaten path, behind the scenes question here, Ben, before we go?
Do it.
When you come up with these examples for the collaborative drafts, and you do pick a movie that is attainable here in this draft, such as The Boy and the Heron, which, by the way, if it did end up at 12, would probably shut down the podcast. Why'd you pick The Boy and the Heron? Like, what goes into what goes on in the Ben brain there?
It was what I was looking at on the screen when I was talking. So that's as far and deep as it goes. It's like, oh, Boy and the Heron's on the bottom. I'm going to say that one.
Okay.
I actively didn't
know that's a lie.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure.
Well, I also actively didn't want to say the one that I want at number 1 at number 12 as a bad example. So I'm not going to say that. And then I was looking at Boy and the Heron. I was like, that's fine. That's kind of neutral. Let's just say that one.
That's what I started to do
kind
earlier.
of neutral.
Like, actually, zip it up, Tyler.
Yeah.
Don't give any hints.
Have you guys listed the 3 movies yet that you keep alluding to? I don't think you've mentioned them, have you?
Oh, you cut out. I didn't hear what you just said.
Users can go to 3 Films in a Podcast and look up our Miyazaki round, and you'll see the 3 films we talked about.
Okay, cool, awesome. I support your guys' podcast. I'm not going to do that research. Too focused on what I want. Do you guys want a particular drafter spot? Because, I always prepare for these collaborative drafts. And I'm like, okay, I know exactly how they work. I've been on a lot of these shows. And then I look at them and I take more than 1 second to be like, oh, yeah, that's the layout. And then I'm like, I'm not really sure what I want to do here.
There's a spot.
One that I'm partial to, but sorry, Ben. I am partial to one, but like, I don't know, man. In the end, it's all the same to me.
There's one I don't
heavily disagree. One I
definitely don't want. I'll take either of the other 2, but there's one I'm just like, no, thank you. And it mainly has to do with the picks, not the abilities. I'm just like, I don't feel good about being in that position, so I don't want that spot.
Okay. Yeah. It always makes me nervous when I don't feel as strongly as you guys. Like I'm not one way or the other, so I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I'm not sure. Historically here on this draft, veto override has been a little bit of an enigma. I think it's only been appropriately used 2 times, 3 times. Like,
I would say a handful of times at best. Like, it hasn't been used that much.
Handful of times. Do I want? Is it really worth it? I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, eligible movies. The 12 films that will be eligible for this Miyazaki draft. 1979's Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro. 1984's Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind. 1986, Castle in the Sky. 1988, My Neighbor Totoro. 1989, Kiki's Delivery Service. 1992's Porco Rosso. 1997's Princess Mononoke. 2001's Spirited Away. 2004's Howl's Moving Castle. 2008's Ponyo. 2013's The Wind Rises. And then 10 years later, in 2023, Miyazaki releases The Boy and the Heron. Really interesting slate of films. And I just don't know how this is going to go. I'm psyching myself out and I'm getting too nervous. So we got to draft. We got to move on with this.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this window up.
Hey, Ben's got the spinner. What are we going with on the spinner? All lowercase.
Lowercase.
All lowercase names.
Very informal.
Very,
very.
Keeping it casual.
Throwing me off the beat.
Here we go. All right, good. I don't have to pick first.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Tyler's
I decided there was one spot I definitely did want. Do I get to pick that now? Like, right? I get to pick that right now?
We'll do that after Ethan and I kind of figure out who's going next.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so Tyler was spun first. You'll get to pick first, Tyler. Oh, wow. That just could not have been any closer.
Amazing.
Shit. Well, I guess it takes the nerves out of me picking. So
Yeah.
okay, Tyler, you do get to pick. Do you want drafter A, B, or C?
Give me C, please.
Tyler
Drafter
going
C.
with C. Interesting. Do you think that the override will be beneficial to you here? Is that what you're after?
I have enjoyed override privileges in the past, but really it's about the positions. I like
okay.
the positions I would get to pick at. So
Okay. Ben, was that one of the ones that you did not want?
No, that was one of the ones I did want.
Ah.
I probably would have taken that if I had the first pick.
Okay.
Instead, I will let you guys figure out the bottom 4, and I'm going to take drafter A. I have the least amount of picks, but I'm worried about Ethan, just to be clear. So I want to have 2
What did
vetoes.
I ever do? What did I ever do to deserve this?
So the 2 vetoes I feel like are going to come in handy, and it was kind of a mixed bag for me at the bottom. I'm like, I don't know where to play these. So honestly, it's kind of nice just to chill till pick 8. You know, it's like, cool, you guys, let's figure out the bottom 4, and then we can take it from there.
Can you elaborate? Like, what do you think I'm going to do here? Like, what do you think is worst case scenario? That I'm just going to like fuck this whole list and just be like, well, Spirited Away, not for me. Like, come on, guys, have some faith.
I mean, this is coming from Mr. Monster University. There's just there's no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing. I want to have faith, you know,
okay.
As Fred Durst once said, but yeah, I don't know.
And before this podcast rolled, you were singing the praises of Emilia Perez.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You didn't want to have it on record. So
you're like, it's a good thing it has as many noms as Oppenheimer, because those films are equal in my eyes.
2 favorite movies in the decade.
Yeah, back-to-back favorite films.
Both very deserving of their Academy Award nominations.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Jonathan Fuji, both just big Emilia Perez fans at our cores.
You've seen it 8 times, right? Just like
really
Oppenheimer.
Great day.
You just keep watching it back to back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I lie and I tell my wife I'm going to see The Brutalist. I'm actually going to see Emilia Perez twice.
Just watching on your phone in the parking lot. It's like, yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah. We are recording on Oscar nominations day. So I've been up since 5 a.m. I've lived 2 days so far, just full of pain and malice and poison. So you're not wrong. In your estimation here, Ben. You're not wrong being scared of what could happen.
All right. I'm excited.
All right. So, Ben, you get picks 8, 7, 4, and 1, the 2 vetoes. I'm going to take 12, 9, 5, and 2, the single veto. Tyler, you're going to get 11, 10, 6, and 3 with 1 veto and the only and sole veto override of the draft. Okay, at number 12, we are just going to do what my list says. This is the one movie that I was just really, I would say really the only one where I was like, that's not for me. I can appreciate it, but that is not the movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be putting at number 12, Ponyo. I think it's cute. I think it looks really good. It's just a little too meandering for my take or for like my personal preference. And I don't really I just don't really vibe with Liam Neeson's Ocean Guy. He's just not my speed, you know?
This is a great start to this podcast because that was also the bottom of my list. Again, huge caveat that I haven't seen one Miyazaki film. Have seen this one.
Okay.
But yeah, great start, Ethan. Good pick.
Really? Good pick. So you're not a huge fan of Ponyo either?
I felt the same way you did. I was like, look, picking a bad Miyazaki film is like picking a bad way to win $500. You know, it's like, you're up either way. Like you're in, you know, it's all good. So something has to be 12, and I'm more than fine with Ponyo.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. This was my second favorite first time watch of my homework.
What? No.
There's only one movie that I kind of liked more than this.
That's crazy.
I feel this might be the best entry in the Liam Neeson goes looking for his daughter cinematic universe. I think this is I loved it. I love seeing the underwater world of Miyazaki. Ghibli food always looks good, and I think we have plenty of that in here.
Yeah.
Some really good looking ramen, I believe, in the house.
Yeah. Every time I make ramen. Yeah.
And like Sasuke in his little sailor hat is just like super adorable. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love this. I also love that we got basically the two less famous siblings to star in this movie. Like we
Yeah.
got Noah Cyrus and Frankie Jonas as opposed to Miley Cyrus and any of the other Jonases. Like Kevin would have been more popular, but I think they both did a fantastic job. I love this. This got 4.5 stars from me. I would use a veto if Tyler hadn't said that this also was low on his. It just doesn't make sense. Like it's going to go to 11. You know, at best, I thought I could get it to 9 by vetoing it. You know, but knowing that Tyler doesn't love this either, unfortunately for me, this is just going to stay at the bottom because it's just going to be a wasted veto. But I loved this movie so much. There's only one movie that I had a better time with as a first time watch. But you know,
wow,
this is a good start to the show.
Can't win them all. Can't win them all.
That's exactly what I was talking about with like I think the opinions on Miyazaki are wildly all over the place.
Yeah.
Did you just like you liked pretty much everything about it? Because like 4.5 stars, that's really solid. I gave it 3.5, and like when Tyler was like my lowest one is 3 stars, I was like, oh no, like should I be giving Ponyo 3 stars? Because I just like don't know. I would like frame almost a million images from this film, but like other than that, I just didn't connect with it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. I loved this was so I only have 1 5-star in my Miyazaki's, but this is one of 4.5 star films I have for him. So yeah, I dug this movie. I was into the vibe it was giving off. I liked the, you know, kind of the message of like how we're treating the oceans and stuff like that. I thought the voice cast was great. I liked Ponyo, like herself, like she was just fun, whether she was in like her switching from human form back to like goldfish form was kind of hilarious. I thought every single time. I don't know. I just had a great time, but I hear what you guys are saying. Like you said, like it's still 3.5 stars for you guys. Like it's not a bad movie, but for me, this was just one of the best ones I saw.
I will say, and this is a different draft and a different topic, but I do think that Tina Fey as Sasuke's mom is one of the better voice actings that we can get in the Miyazaki universe.
Yeah,
I thought she was really good.
This was one of the best casts, I think, voice cast with Cate Blanchett. And I mean, like you said,
Matt Damon gets a sentence in there. Matt
Damon gets a line. It's crazy. They call him in just like, hey, we just need you to be the dad and say
one
like 3
line guy.
things. Yeah. I think this is like one of the best casts in any of these movies. But yeah, all right. Yeah. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to live with that.
God, I feel kind of bad. Like I don't know. I just thought things would go differently. Like I thought at the end of the day it would just be like, well, you know, I would have it at 4, but we've got it at 5, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like I thought that's where we were gonna be. I guess we're not. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we're not as friendly as I thought.
Yeah, this is my personal number 4, but yeah, again,
you're gonna let it stand. That's crazy. Yeah, I guess the strategy of the collaborative draft would fuck you over. So
yeah, this is where me waiting till 8 burns me. I'm like, well, fuck, because there's no way I'm getting it to 8 or 7 or anything like that. So
you should try.
I should try. Let's just burn through both vetoes. Let's do it.
Okay,
just for Ponyo.
Ponyo at 12. Tyler, you've got back-to-backs. You've got 11 and 10.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna go. This is working out beautifully for me because I just get to go in order of my genuine feelings, and I know one's gonna be controversial. And I'm trying to decide if I play the controversial one first to get it out of the way. But to be fair, I'm gonna go off what I genuinely have in my private letterboxd rankings.
That nobody can validate, and that is a complete lie. Possibly, we don't know. You're gonna show them to the non-video podcast.
Screenshot 648. Can I ask you a question before you say it?
Yes.
Are you going to play the one you didn't watch, or are you going to leave that up to Ethan and I?
Oh, good question.
I don't feel right about doing that. So I was going to mention this before we started. I am feeling pretty collaborative here. So, because I you know, like I said, I think everyone's tastes are wildly different. So I'll give you guys an option. Ooh. I'm going to play the one that I'm going to play at 11, and then we'll talk about it after that.
Okay.
So what I'm going to play at number 11 is currently my number 10 on my list. And it is Miyazaki's first film that he made, Lupin the Third, The Castle of Cagliostro. A movie that I loved. I hearted it. I had it, but I just have it 3.5 stars. It just,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't. It's one of the funniest Miyazaki movies.
Easily.
It genuinely had me rolling. It just didn't quite have a lot of the elements that I've come to love from a Miyazaki movie. I'm a sucker for the surrealism. I'm a sucker for the fantastic elements and the fantastic elements that Miyazaki puts on screen. The animation is, I mean, it's great, but it's just not quite that like,
yeah,
almost like liquid seeming, the way that like a Miyazaki world just seems all in liquid in some ways. Like everything looks like it's ready to just like melt off the screen. And I just love that. Everything feels so like dreamy and surreal. And I love I guess the way that just makes, I love the way that makes my brain feel. And I didn't get that from this movie, but I loved it and I would watch it again. I hearted it. And the way I heart movies is if I would be excited to watch it again. And I would love to watch this movie again, but I have to be honest, it just was low. I have it lower than a lot of everything else he's done. And so I'm going to play that at number 11 here.
For that tracks for me. This is one of my 3.5 star ones. It's not the 3-star one, but it's low. But again, I echo everything you said. For me, it's just, I guess this is in my limited research. This is based off a manga called Lupin the Third. And they had done some like TV series, and Miyazaki had directed a few of those episodes. And then he got to do this movie, which I think was the second movie with this character. But in that sense, it's just like, okay, so this isn't an original Miyazaki character, which is what I think feels different. Not necessarily bad, but just like there's something about these other worlds that he creates where it's just like, man, we're stepping into this guy's brain. That's awesome. Whereas this, like, not necessarily like director for hire, but just it's the first gig. You know what I mean? Like you take what you can get kind of thing. I think he did a good job with it, but we just got so much more charm and I don't know, just great animation and great stories in his other films. So I agree with you. Like this is still 3.5 stars, still a good rating, but it just is low for me.
It really explains a lot to me because I had those thoughts as I was watching it. I'm like, oh, this is clearly the movie he had to make all these other movies that I love so much.
Yeah.
And I love that for him. And I love that for me too, because I had a great time watching it. But it just was like, I don't know. I would rather watch a Miyazaki movie and not a movie that Miyazaki got hired to make. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ethan's looking to burn that veto already.
This is, I absolutely will not. I actually feel like I'm in a similar boat as you, Tyler, but there's one kind of altercation. So I have The Castle of Cagliostro at 3.5 stars, just like you guys. I agree. It's very evident that this is his first work. It's very evident that this is not something stemming entirely and wholesomely from his brain. While that is the case, I think it is like a one of one within his filmography. He never does anything like this again. It is so comedic, and it is so like weird is not the right way to put it, but it is so like in line with like, oh, it's a neo-noir set in Japan about like the intricacies of, you know, the elite top and why they can be bought. And I think there's a lot of good things in there. There's a lot of really funny moments. I love the beginning when they do commit the heist and they have a car full of money. And then he's like, they're all fakes. We got to go steal the press. And I was like, sick. There's our movie. Right. Like we just learned about it in 30 seconds. This is exciting. And I love, there's one scene in particular where he's like jumping from roof to roof, and the score, when he jumps, it bounds with him. And I think that is really neat. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Yeah. I also gave it a heart because I'm like, ooh, this is funny. This is entertaining. This is fun. It's an easy watch. It's really cool.
Totally.
I personally have it at 8 on my list because there are a handful of other 3.5 stars movies that I have, and I liked this one just from a personal preference more than those films. So 11's a little tough, but I'm not going to budge. I'm not going to budge on this.
When do you see number 10, buddy?
There are there are bigger fish to fry, as I was about to say. So what could number 10 be? I really don't know.
Here's where it gets interesting as we move on to as the number 10 pick. I know this is going to be controversial, and Ben might be seeing ahead here because he and I have talked about this movie before, and I know I was lower on it than him. Which maybe I've just given him too much away for my little experiment here. So I'm going to give you guys the option. I can play this movie that I genuinely have third from the bottom on my personal Miyazaki list, or you can let me play the movie I haven't seen at number 10.
Are you going to reveal what that film is before we make that choice?
I am not.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us what either movie is? Or we have to just blind. This is just a blind pick. This is just like a door number 1, door number 2.
Yeah, when I play either movie, you'll know which one.
Oh my God.
So do you want the one I have seen or the one that I haven't seen?
I personally want the one you have not seen. That's my vote.
Yeah, let's see. I'm doing a little bit of thinking. But let's go with the one you have not seen.
I was gonna say you might want to listen to Ben here. Because he know I think he knows the other movie I'm talking about.
I think so.
Oh.
And for me, that's my number 12. So that's why I would love for you to play it at 10.
Well, you want me to? So Ben wants me to play the movie that I have seen.
No, I want you to play the movie you have not seen.
Oh, okay.
I think I know what that one is too.
You also want me to play the movie I have not seen?
That is my choice, Tyler, but this whole like I wash my hands of the blood of the draft and I pawn it off on others. Sure. Yucky strategy. I don't abide.
Look, man, I've yet to win a draft either on my podcast or yours. And I find that
welcome to the club.
I have a specific taste that it seems like a lot of people don't agree with, and I'm fine with that. So I'm happy to take this L.
Did you not
clip this as our clip? If you disagree with number 10, you can send all your hate mail my way. I'll forward it to my intern, and they will handle it appropriately.
Did you not watch this movie due to lack of time, or like you chose not to watch this movie? Okay.
No, I wanted to watch it. I was excited to watch it. I just, I don't get paid to do this, so I have to sneak them in when I can. And
I give us a lot of credit here for hyping up this pick for the last 7 minutes. I'm really excited to see what it's going to be.
Yeah.
All right. So number 10, a movie that I want to be clear, Ben and Ethan chose. This is their fault. It's the only movie that I haven't seen, and it's Sophie's pick at Pretend. Castle in the Sky.
Castle in the Sky. Okay.
Castle in the Sky.
Number 10.
Yeah. Castle in the Sky, number 10. Now, I'll make it clear to listeners that there are 3 vetoes floating in the wind here that can be thrown to change.
I was correct in my thought process, and this is the movie that I have at 12. This is my only three-star film.
Really?
Miyazaki. Yeah, again, like, no
robots,
bad movies.
Guys, it's the only time there's robots in his movies.
Yeah, but there's also like Anna Paquin kind of doing a British accent and kind of not, like just going in and out. Cloris Leachman's great, but she's always great whenever she shows up. There was 2 things I liked about this movie, and it was the opening title sequence because it reminded me of like the old Monty Python artwork, which was kind of cool. And then they have a exploding shirt competition, the 2 big buff dudes, and that was pretty cool. Other than that, I was just like, I don't know, next movie.
Dang,
that's kind of how I felt afterwards. So
I really disagree. Really disagree with you guys. It's not like in my top. It's not one of my favorite movies. I don't. I have it. Okay, I have it at number 7, which is like middle of the pack. I understand. So like I'm getting on the stand to defend something that I think is totally mid when it comes to Miyazaki. But like there's so many cool things about Castle in the Sky. Miyazaki? That's our thumbnail actually for this. This is the title. I love what is his name? I just watched this movie last night. Muska, voiced by Mark Hamill, all-time baddie.
Yeah.
All-time baddie. Guy's terrible. I think the movie and the narrative really benefits from like a truly bad guy.
Mhm.
Love the pirates. I love how the pirates just want to do everything for their mom, for Dola. And I think that's a great, admirable thing to be the pirates. And that action sequence where the robot gets fucking blasted in the heart. You guys tell me you don't fuck with that? Get out of here. That sequence is awesome.
I possibly do. I don't know.
This is so unfair. What an incredible
Listeners,
strategy. You're the first person to ever do this. Congrats.
Yeah, I feel terrible that I haven't seen this movie.
I'm sorry that I'm spoiling it for you.
I am. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's all good.
Man, I really think this is cool. I really like this movie, and I think it's cool. I'm not gonna. I only have one veto. The fact that, like, I will say I really liked the back half of this movie more than the front half, but they find a castle in the sky. That's awesome.
Titular castle.
The titular castle in the sky. I think this is a cool movie. I got this at 4 stars, number 7 on my list. I like Castle in the Sky. Let it be known.
Love that for you.
It's out there.
Well, it's gonna be number 10, I guess. Tyler wouldn't care either way, huh?
I love it. That's perfect for me.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll learn of the other movie when the time comes.
Yeah.
I will tell you when it gets played.
Okay, you'll let us know. Okay.
Yeah,
Are any of these films one of the 3 that you talked about on the pod yet? No. Okay.
Oh, no.
Castle in the Sky at 10. Man, that hurts my heart a little bit. Hurts my heart. Okay. At number 9, I'm going to be playing what would have been next in my list. It is my number 11, actually, on my list. And we shall see. I think this might cause a little bit of consternation. I'm going to be playing Howl's Moving Castle. It just didn't work for me. I think it's very thematically deep. I think there's a lot to appreciate there. It just, like, the way that it fleshes out and the pace of the film and everything about it, I gave it 3.5 stars. Like, it's just not one for me, I guess. I don't know.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Do you want to know what the other movie that I was talking about? Howl's Moving Castle was my other choice.
Wow, no way.
Castle in the Sky or Howl's Moving. I'm the same as you, man.
Wow. Oh, I thought you were going to get on here and be like, no, this needs to be a top 3. That's insane.
Yeah, I was going to try and sell it like that. So Adam Palcher came on, and it's one of his favorite Miyazaki films, and he came on our pod to talk about it. And I think Ben was a lot higher on it than I was too. And I've got it at 4 stars. It's number 9 on my list. And I clearly liked a lot about it, but there was just so much about it that I didn't connect with in ways that I do with every other movie above it on my list. So yeah, great pick, Ethan. You're on a roll.
Wow. Can I say something? And I know, Ben, you haven't spoken your piece yet, and this is why I want to say it now, because I want to give you your floor in case whatever direction you go on this. Billy Crystal as Calcifer. I got to say, the only annoying character in any Miyazaki film ever. I thought it was not good. I get what it stands for. I get what it means, and I understand the importance of the character, but it's just like, that was not the vibe of the movie.
I agree that I'm glad we got it in, fairly limited doses, but I was in on Calcifer. Mainly just the character design. I thought it was Calcifer. Cool. Yeah. I also really loved the magical door system in Howl's Moving Castle.
Cool. That was cool.
That's honestly one of my favorite things. I wouldn't say like in any movie ever, but it's one of my favorite Miyazaki creations. But for whatever reason, just everything around it just didn't really work for me. Didn't really connect. So
should we just keep vamping and just move on and not let Ben not let Ben say anything about Howl's Moving Castle?
Well, Ben's got the 8th pick, so he gets to speak next regardless. So,
in the words of Chevy Chase, National Lampoon's Vacation, you're all fucked in the head. That's what I think. This movie,
I knew this would be
is so
controversial.
good.
Yeah.
Here's the dumb gameplay aspect of it is Tyler has the veto override. Like, there's no point in me vetoing this because he's just gonna be like, no, it belongs at 9. And I wouldn't begrudge him that because he has the ability. I'm not gonna tell him not to play it. But
It's true.
Like Ethan, literally my first note on here was love Billy Crystal. Like, it's one of my favorite performances in all of the Miyazaki films. I think it's hilarious.
That's crazy. That's
crazy. I don't know. I love the little boy changing from the little boy to the old man as he goes to answer the door. Turnip Head is great. I love sad, sticky green goo Howl. Just bummed about his hair, I love all that stuff. I think Christian Bale does a great job at voice acting in this. This is one of the 3 that we watched before. This is a 4.5 star movie for me. I really love this movie. I picked it. This was my pick because on the pod, we each picked a movie, and I screwed up because I meant to pick Castle in the Sky, but I got the wrong Castle movie. But it was a good accident on my end because I actually really like this movie, and Paltrow coming on kind of even warmed me up to it even more. So I love this movie. Again, it just feels like a veto doesn't make any sense. This is crazy to me that my 4 and 5 are in the bottom 4, and I can't veto them any higher. But yeah, I don't know, man. I love this movie.
I honestly don't know that I would override this because I know
this is
it's
interesting.
Controversial. I know I'm much lower on Howl. I'm not going to say that I won't override. I haven't made up my mind on that, but I'm not I'm not thinking in my head oh yeah, I'll just override that and keep it at 9 because again, I know it's a unique take from what I've seen online. And most people I talk to really love this movie that love Miyazaki and that have seen it. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that I would really fight super hard to keep this at 9. Take that for what you will.
I really like the character design of Howl, and I'm super in. Ben, you mentioned the green goo Howl. I'm super in on that stuff. This is the one with the very physically large witch slugging it up the stairs. Is that correct? That's pretty funny. When Howl turns into the dog, or supposedly turns into the dog, is pretty good as well. Huh. Well, that's good. You are potentially moving forward, knowing that 2 out of your 4.5 star movies are in the bottom of this list.
Yeah, but I still have my top 3 left, and I don't know what you guys think about them. I know what Tyler thinks about one of them. I don't know what you guys think about the other 2, so I'm just gonna hold on to it for that. Because again, I know Tyler said he may not veto it, and I wouldn't, hold it against him if he did. But it's just not a chance I'm willing to take. So it's gonna live.
Okay.
This is what's interesting is I love to be able to play the powers, the veto and the veto override. And you have the next pick, Ben, so I can keep vamping here. But I would want to, frankly, I would want to play the veto override just to be able to play it because, frankly, you only get so many chances. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but I wouldn't veto override this because I know that I'm on the outs. I wouldn't play an override on this, but I just don't know if it's a movie that you were really going to bat for. Do you really think you're going to be able to sneak it at number 4? Is it really going to rise that high?
Yeah, I guess that's the other part is at best it's going from 9 to 6 probably,
middle half, middle
fine. Third, top half,
That's one way to look at it, sure.
Not awful,
also,
not awful.
There may be movies that I really want to be at 6. I'm not going to promise you that I will play this at 6, but I wouldn't override it. I'll say that.
This is like betting on futures here. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's going to happen, what's going to prosper. anything's doable.
You and I have known each other too long. I would never lie to him like that. But I'm not going to promise. I won't make you a deal that it'll go
Right.
at 6. I can't promise that. So
honestly, it just sounds easier to keep it where it is and just move on with our life. Move on with the draft.
All right, I'm doing some research right now on Letterboxd. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah. I'm going private.
That's so lame. Deactivating my account as we speak.
I will veto this movie.
What?
Just because I don't think you're going to play my number 3 at this spot, Ethan. That would be my concern, is that you would play my number 3 here. But having just seen your rating of this movie, I feel safe that you're not going to play it.
Maybe I will, just to mix things up. Who's to say?
Who knows?
Who's to say? Shoot, I was really hoping that wouldn't have to come back to me. I swear to God, every time we draft, I always have to pick new things. Last week, I got vetoed on one of my suggestions for a monster. This week, I'm getting vetoed on this. I always have to go back to the well.
My favorite part is that you have to actually go back in the doc and delete stuff after you've entered it. That's my favorite thing to watch. It's like, all right, delete. I like that.
That's why I try to hold off as long as I can, but we're early in the draft, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
Okay, so Howl's Moving Castle back on the board. Unplayable for number 9 at least.
I will say I'm a little nervous now because,
Me too. Could have been a bad choice, but yeah.
I mean, it's really, I have the opportunity to play out a very funny bit here and try to pick one of Ben's favorite movies to play in this spot.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be funny. And it would also be detrimental to my personal list. And I don't have what it takes to do that. So I'm going to be putting forth, shoot, I gave that one 4 stars. Yeah. Okay. Feel pretty good about this. We're going to be going with one of his earlier films, 1984's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. This is not a bad movie. This is a pretty good movie. Love all the bugs. Love the ohms, as they're called. I love the final 20 minutes of this movie a lot. Love the little creatures. Think this is a great Miyazaki creature flick. But just in the grand scheme, it's just not... it's not one that I find myself itching to revisit over some of his other films. Obviously, this is very classic Miyazaki in his environmental narrative and thematic journey that he goes on in pretty much all of his movies. And I think this is... I watched this movie a few days ago. I think this is a great movie for the times that we are living in currently, of the suppression of vital information and the eager nature of the people at the top to be violent for all means and rewards. So if you're looking for a movie to watch, I suggest Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, but I was given no choice, so I have to play it at 9.
I am gutted here. I should have never made the case for Howl to stay. So I am much higher on Nausicaa than you.
Oh my God, what is happening right now? What is going on?
Now I will admit, there is a huge part of me that thinks that I think I love this movie because watching it, I had I don't know what you would call it, retroactive, retconned nostalgia. I felt like this was a movie that I grew up with. This was a movie that, had I seen it, I was born in 83, and had someone showed it to me when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, I'm confident it would have been one of my favorite movies. I grew up watching the animated Hobbit. There was a movie that my grandparents owned on VHS called Flight of the Dragons that I've never met anyone else that has seen it or heard of it, but I would watch it on repeat to the point where I'm sure the tape wouldn't even play anymore. And I would just go and watch those movies on repeat. And I'm sure this would have been added to that list. So, Child Tyler is just not going to let this fly. This one, I don't know.
What?
Yeah,
guys, we have 9 more movies we have to get through here. Yeah, 9 more films, Tyler.
I have seen way too many, or listened to way too many episodes of this podcast to know that actions go unused if you don't play them when you want to play them, and if you don't fight for the things you want to fight for. I'm willing to accept that I'm higher on this than a lot of people.
Crazy.
But I can't have it go in the bottom third of the list. If I bump it up to the middle somewhere, great. And it would be super funny if Ben just played it at 8, but I have to fight. I have to try. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna V2 Nausicaa. I fell in love with this movie. I was dazzled, and admitting that it's not like I don't know, that it may not be everyone's favorite. And there are some that many people would argue to have higher, but I can't do it. I have to fight for my inner child here.
I just don't. What's going on? What is happening right now? Ben, do you want to speak on this, or do you want to? I don't know, strategy wise, what you're trying to get up to.
No, I'll wait. We'll talk about it later.
I don't know what that means. Talk about it in a second. I don't know what that means.
Like I know that's what's going to happen, but at least it went to the middle.
Yeah. One spot, really not that big of a difference, Tyler. You could have just kept it,
Well, I will say that I've been up until this point fairly collaborative, and so if that was what was about to happen, I would appreciate a little collaboration headed my way. But it's fine. It's okay.
I think this is a pretty good voice cast as well. We get Patrick Stewart, Shia LaBeouf, Uma Thurman. Some good things in there.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Hamill back is the mayor of Pedgite.
Something that I liked about it was that it was just fairly not simple, but it was just like a fun, easy watch with inventive characters and a cool world, and a hero that is fun to root for. And what's the name of her little squirrel fox? I can't remember the name right now.
Something Fox is what it is.
Yeah, it's a fox squirrel. I love a animal sidekick. Miyazaki creates some good ones. So yeah, I don't know. This just it burrowed its way into my heart, and
okay. This does have, in my opinion, some of the best like lore and world building that Miyazaki does. We get the 7 Days of Fire, the Toxic Jungle, Empire of Tomikia. Yeah, I could see that. But whatever. I guess we'll keep talking about this movie at a later date.
What's your third pick for 9?
I just this was not on my bingo card of let's duke it out at 9.
It's funny though, like you said at the beginning of the pod, that's maybe it's the bottom half that's going to bring the most debate, and it's kind of proving to be true. I've enjoyed how different our takes have been on most of these movies so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, I'm not the bad guy here. I have to go deep in the well. I have to go back to number 3. I would not have put this at number 9, but this is the reality that we live in now. So at number 9, I'm going to be playing what's next in line for me, and is my true number 9 on my list. Princess Mononoke. Like it, didn't love it. Think the giant animals are really cool. And I honestly don't really want to say more about it because Ben still has a veto, and he's wearing a fucking Princess Mononoke shirt.
Yes, I am.
Do it, Ben. Just do it now. Get it over with so I can go back to the well for number 4.
No, because I'm afraid of what would come next, to be completely honest. I
would come next
Mononoke.
From me?
Yeah, I enjoy Mononoke.
Oh.
It's a 4-star film for me.
Guys,
devastating.
What,
this is devastating.
Everything is good. We talked about this at the top of the pod. Everything is good Miyazaki. Something has to be number 9.
Oh my God.
That's true.
You do not. I will warn you with a voracious wind and fire. You do not want to see what's next. I'm just keep climbing my board, and it's not going to be something I even want there.
Yeah. That's why I'm leaving it. I disagree with its placement, but I feel like you're not going to play my stuff that's below Mononoke next. So to save that, I'm just going to leave it. This is one of the 3 that we watched. This was a good first time watch for me when we watched it. I didn't realize that Ghibli could have that kind of gore or violence in it, but I thought it was really well done. I love the creatures that we get in this movie. Mononoke is a fucking badass. The ape tribe is creepy as shit. I think it's like handled so well. Yeah, I don't know. I like this movie, but out of fear of what would come next, I'm going to leave it.
I've scared you into submission.
I'm sorry, Tyler.
I'm gutted, you guys. So this is my number one Miyazaki movie. This is the top of my list. And
Wow.
with concessions that I do think a theory I have about Miyazaki is that a person's entry point into Miyazaki typically becomes one of their favorites.
Mm-hmm.
That's just sort of a running theory I have. And this was the movie that introduced me to Miyazaki. And this was the movie that sort of opened my eyes to be able to appreciate animated movies in a different way. My experience with animated movies up until seeing Princess Mononoke was, your Disneys and your Pixars and those sorts of things. And, I'm sure the Fern Goalies and whatnot. And this was the one that opened my eyes to it could be everything that Miyazaki is. It can be beautiful and sad and a little bit scary, a little bit hopeful. It can be whimsical, it can be surreal, it can be, I could hurl descriptors for days. And it just really opened up something in me that I wasn't expecting. And this was the only Miyazaki movie I had seen for a long time until we watched this and a couple others for our podcast. And it's just always held a really special place in my heart. And I do think it's a special movie. I think it has a lot to say. Miyazaki movies typically do. I think it's one that has there's sort of a theme in my top four. Princess Mononoke and another movie that I've gone to bat for. Environmental concerns and those sorts of things. And this, you kind of just pulled my heart out, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. So well done.
I am not to blame here. Don't put this back on me. Don't say that I pulled your heart out. The 20 minutes prior to this pick is what slowly deteriorated your heart.
So you're just doing it because you're mad.
I'm doing it because I have a gun to my head. I have to. I don't have a choice. The Nightwalker at the end is really, really cool. Like, really cool. One of the coolest Miyazaki designs in any of his films, I think. I got nothing to say. I'm in a bad spot mentally, so whatever.
Oh, you and me both, buddy. You and me both.
This is what you've caused.
I was sure. So I was the reason I picked Drafter C was because I know that I'm a little bit higher on Mononoke is pretty universally loved, except for one guy that I know that I think I kind of look at in a different light now. But I picked this so I could put Mononoke at 3. I thought, okay, I'm fine if it's 3. I would put it at 1, 2, or 3. I have 3 movies that I'm like not totally sure. If I'm like true to my heart, I go with my entry point and the thing that introduced me to this world. Yeah. But if I'm true to what I believe to be universally true and also true to myself in some ways, I might go a different direction. But I figured if I can get this at 3, I'll have 1. And so now this draft is a failure, and I don't care what happens from here on out. Go ahead.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because this rarely does. Well, maybe not rarely. I feel like it's few and far between that this happens on a collaborative draft. So you guys you went to bat for Howl's Moving Castle, and you went to bat for Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and now we landed on Princess Mononoke here at 9. Are you happy you went to bat for those other films, or would you rather have one of those stuck?
If I could switch, I would put Nausicaa back at 9, but again, I'm still not happy that it's at 9 either. I want Nausicaa higher myself. So there was no way I was going to be happy here. And this is exactly what I was afraid of, but also interested to see. I do think it's interesting that you're lower on Mononoke than, the world, but
than everybody else.
Why do I keep getting strays in my direction? It's twisted my hand here.
I'm happy with it because Howl is going to live to see at least another couple spots. But yeah, I feel for Tyler basically as someone who's number 4 is sitting at 12. I kind of understand
his actual friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually see. Oh man. Well, Ben, you've got the double. You've got 8 and 7, and I think we.
Oh, are we not friends, Ethan? What was that stray?
Wow.
Man,
Wow.
You said it first.
personal.
You said it first, my guy. You said you view me in a different light. I'm just trying to go Challenger style, going back and forth.
We'll still be friends. I just look at you differently.
You just think of me as a lesser.
No, it's fine. This is honestly what I was interested to see. It just honestly, it's not so much. I don't feel personally attacked. I was just shocked. I've never heard anyone as low on Princess Mononoke as that. And I love you for it, but it was a surprise.
We can't all have taste, you know. What are you gonna do?
Well, I do like Amelia Perez, so there's that.
That is very true.
Let me be clear to the listeners, that's a bit. I don't want this circulating. I don't want this circulating in the world that I do like Amelia Perez. I do not. That movie is bad. That is a bad film. Okay, Ben.
Okay, in the spirit of collaboration, number 11 on my list is Nazca of the Valley of the Wind. I will not be playing it at 8. I will at least let it go to 7 because I have 2 movies that I have rated 3.5 stars.
No. I've lost. I'm done.
You don't care.
Play it at 8. Get it out of the way.
Doesn't matter.
Like, my spirit is crushed.
No,
Nothing
I want
matters
to
anymore.
extend some sort of olive branch. So I'm bumping it up to 7. I'm going to play my other 3.5 film, which is at number 10 on my list. Like, it's not that big of a swap here. This movie that I'm about to play is the first time watch that I wanted to love the most.
I'm fearful I know what this is.
I wanted this to be a 5-star movie. I was so excited to watch this movie. And then I watched it and I was just like, damn, that's a bummer. Like, it was still good, but it's like, it just wasn't what I wanted. And I think a lot of it comes from our main performer here and the choices that they made. So at number 8, I'll be playing Porco Rosso.
Boo, bad pick.
That's how I felt after I watched it. Yeah, so it's like, damn, this is bad pick.
Michael Keaton is fucking cooking in this movie.
Okay,
what are you talking about?
You want to know the note I have here?
He is cooking as a pig who is a pilot.
There is a fine line between playing it cool and being uninterested, and I can't tell which camp Michael Keaton falls into. That's the note I have about this movie.
Both, because he's so good at voice acting this pig.
I just don't know that he cared at all. And I was just like, man, I know there's I don't know. I already just said it. He could be playing it cool, but like, to me, it's just going too far to the other side of just like, what is Michael Keaton doing? I feel like he just doesn't care about this performance at all. I don't know. It bummed me out to not love this movie.
Is it possible? So it seems that like, being the American actor for the English dub is sort of like an honor. I get the sense that it's like when you get the chance to do a Miyazaki movie, you jump on it, right?
Yeah.
Like his catalog of American voice actors that have put their voice to his movies is insane. It's out of control. It's maybe one of the best like top to bottom, cast lists that you can find. Do you think maybe Keaton was like so hyped? He's like, he got the call to be Miyazaki, and they're like, yeah, but you're a pig. You're a mumbling, drunken, womanizing pig, Michael Keaton, you pig. Maybe he was offended. Maybe he was insulted. I do see what you're saying there. This is in the middle of my list. I have it at my number 6. So I'm happy with it at 8. That's fine. Especially because it means it bumps my precious Nausicaa up a little bit.
Literally,
it has a heart. It's 4 stars with a heart. What do you want?
You came on the pod with a quote from this movie.
It's a great quote. It
was the only Miyazaki quote I could find that worked for the opening. But I loved it. I would watch it again. I would watch it again right now and be happy. But it just was like there was others, that I would put higher.
What's in your heart, Ethan?
Some of which are much lower.
I really like Porco Rosso. I gave it 4.5 stars. If you make money from war, you're scum. If you can't make money from bounty hunting, you're an idiot. The whole point is that Porco Rosso is towing that line that you're exactly talking about, Ben. He himself doesn't know if he's interested, if he cares, if he's cool, if he's not. Like, he doesn't know what he's trying to do. There's a boxing match in the ocean. That's
Mhm.
pretty cool. I mean, pirates, obviously a very heavily reoccurring storytelling device that Hayao Miyazaki continues to go back to in all of his movies. And I love that this movie is set in Italy. I think this is really cool. Like 1930s Italy is, Miyazaki does it beautifully, and I think it's wonderful. Like, I have my banner on Letterboxd is Porco Rosso chilling in a sun chair on the beach with the magazine on his head, listening to the radio. My guy's,
sure.
he's just living it up. He's just living it up. I think it's great. I really liked this movie a lot. I can't fight for it based on the bloodbath we've had so far. I have to basically just prepare for the worst.
What if I promise you I won't play it at 7 if you veto it, if you want to?
No, it's too high risk. There's too many other potentials to get roped into this conversation. And I only have the one veto. I have this higher on my list. But I guess we'll keep it. I don't really have a choice. God, justice for Porco Rosso.
Is it your favorite Miyazaki movie? Is it the Miyazaki movie that opened your eyes to the wonders and the majesty of Mr. Hayao?
Where do you have this?
Is it that movie? Is that for you?
It's not necessarily that. It's just a cool movie, you know? Sometimes you can just have a cool movie in your filmography.
Yeah, it's great.
Dang it.
All right.
It's great at 8.
I mean, average of 4. I would have to go through and look, but Miyazaki's filmography and his average Letterboxd rating has to be among the highest of
it's insane.
Of any working director. I mean, I guess of any director dead or alive. Like, it's unbelievable. Almost every single movie of his is at 4 or higher.
Got it.
This is at a 4.0. I love the fact too that Porco Rosso is 93 minutes. Just a nice, short, delightful film. I think the love story between Porco Rosso and the girl are just like are great, and it's okay. What are we
not worried about that age gap at all?
We move on. Oh, honestly, I'm pro age gap, and I'm a little bit more worried about the fact that one's a human.
Oh,
and
that's
one's
right.
a
You're a
pig.
licorice pizza guy. That's right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. I was trying to skirt the licorice pizza slander before you brought it up. That's why I didn't say it by name. But sure. I am pro licorice pizza. All right, we keep Porco Rosso at 8. What do you got next, Ben, at 7?
I will be playing Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind at 7.
Okay.
I bumped it up. I'm sad about Princess Mononoke, but I think more people should watch Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't disagree with you. I didn't dislike this movie. I was happy to bump it up to 7, and I don't know. The thing about this that stuck out to me, because this was like his first Ghibli film, I believe. This is his first one after Cagliostro, I think, right? I believe. Is that I'm not looking at the list, but it is. It's a very 84 soundtrack, like the electronic music and stuff like that. I was like, damn, I was not ready for this, but this is kind of cool. This movie, more than Cagliostro, was allowing me to see like what he would go on to do. Like, okay, cool. Right. There's a lot of, we talked about it on our pod, a lot of just like what makes a director a director. It's like when you're watching like a Spielberg movie or whatever, something like that. It kind of felt that way with this. I'm like, yeah, this is definitely Miyazaki. So, I don't know. I mean, this movie, again, it's 3.5 stars. It's not a bad rating, but it just wasn't, it did knock my socks off. So yeah, I'll just play it at 7.
This is interesting. I don't have anything else to add to the Nausicaa conversation. I think good movie, not great movie, but there apparently was a heavily edited version of this film created by Manson International. It was called Warriors of the Wind, and it was released in the US and other markets through the mid to late 80s. And apparently this cut is what was derided by Miyazaki and led to Ghibli's no cuts rule for future international releases, which is really fascinating to me, not only for the state of affairs of 2025 cinema, 2024, 2025, obviously Brady Corbet and others going on a big, kind of a tear right now, talking about directors and final cuts, but the fact that it was his second movie ever, his first Ghibli, and only his second movie ever where he's like, no, I get the say, I get the cut. And it stuck. And I think that is incredible and a huge shining direction of where Miyazaki goes in his future, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool movie. Like I said, the Ohms, they're a little scary to me. I've got to be honest with you guys. Anything that has that kind of like crustacean shell to it, I can't get on board with. They're just, they really, really creep me out.
Thus Ponyo at 12. Got it. Cool.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm out on some bugs, okay? It can't be done.
Don't want the sea bugs.
Okay, well, as quickly as 9 and 8 as 8 and 7 passed, I guess, so comes 6. And I feel like we were just duking out 9. And now we're in the top half?
Top half.
Strange.
This is unbelievable the way this is shaking out.
Yeah, this is odd.
I get to take some revenge here, and it's just genuine. It's just, this isn't even me being spiteful. This isn't even me trying to do this. This is genuinely on my number 8 on my list. A movie that I liked, a movie that I respect, a movie that I can see why people might feel higher about it than I do. Again, 4 stars, but it just happens to fall below the line of other movies and my preferences. And at number 6, I'm gonna play Kiki's Delivery Service.
Damn.
Yeah.
Honestly, like,
I'm sad for Ben.
fuck you.
I'm
You're like, I don't care
Ethan.
how this draft goes, and then you're like, well, let's just play the best one at 6. You know, why not?
Hold on.
Boo. What am I? How?
Kiki, there it is.
That's
number 8.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Ben, I heard you boo. You're pro Kiki's.
This was my number 1 favorite first time watch of the homework. Was Kiki's Delivery Service.
So, shall we pause
Watch
this
you
conversation?
use your veto? Yeah, go for it.
I would love to use my veto. This is not happening. I will save all of my other thoughts, but this is not happening. It's just not. This is not happening. So
I have a procedural question.
I veto Kiki's Delivery Service.
Can an override be vetoed?
What?
No.
What?
Well, you can't.
Wait,
you can't override it.
That's right. Never mind.
It's your pick.
mind.
You can't override it. But Ben, don't you still have a veto? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then in theory, procedurally, you would have first option at the veto, and I would have the second option. You're gonna pass.
Yeah.
I will veto. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I was duped into that, and you fucked me, but that's okay. We'll live to see another day.
If I did, I'm a time traveler because I put Kiki at number 8 a week ago. So, well, you know,
that's far too low. We're not having our Kiki conversation now. Just hold it.
I just want to say I'm sorry that we're on episode 55 and you're feeling duped on the gameplay. I don't know what to tell you.
Every week.
All right.
Every week. I don't know why I signed up for this show.
Okay, cool. So I will then play my absolute and genuine number 7 Miyazaki movie, a movie that I gave 4 stars with a heart. And it is a movie that I'm eternally grateful that I got to watch happen in real time and experience it for the first time with the rest of the world. It is 2023's The Boy and the Heron. Another movie that I really liked, and I really appreciate and I really respect, and has all of the fantastic and surreal elements that I love in a Miyazaki movie. Just for whatever reason, didn't connect with me in the way that I would have liked. So,
man, this is interesting. The Boy and the Heron was my first Miyazaki film. I had seen no other movies before going to see The Boy and the Heron in theaters. Obviously, wins Best Animated Feature at the 2024 Academy Awards. Big win over Spider-Verse. I think that is well-deserved, and I think this is a fantastic film.
Yeah, me too.
Unfortunately, it's a movie that I'm wrestling with because I just rewatched it this morning. It was my only rewatch going into this draft. And Ben, I was texting you about this, and I'm really struggling with this movie because I think it is the most visually and thematically pressing of Miyazaki's movies. I think it is like him really playing at the top of his game, But I think for me, I want to love it more than I do. And I respect it more than I actually like it. I think it's one of the best scores in his filmography for sure. I just think some of the lofty themes and narratives unfortunately get lost on little old me and dumb old Ethan. But I will say my one call out for The Boy and the Heron is that I am obsessed with kind of the final 25 minutes and the granddad and the idea of these blocks and how that is essentially an analogy for Miyazaki and Ghibli and his world building, and how he has seen his career and who he needs to pass it off to. And I think that is really an incredible thing that he has put into one of his films. But yeah, this hurts. This hurts.
Everything you just said about The Boy and the Heron is how I feel about Kiki's Delivery Service.
Oh, interesting. Really fascinating. Yeah. Well, you'd be wrong.
Really respected it. Really liked it. But just, whatever. Didn't connect for dumb old Tyler.
Okay.
The fire scenes during this movie are some of my favorite animation that he's ever done. They are beautiful. They're so cool. And I love the choice that Robert Pattinson made with the voice. I think is pretty hilarious. But yeah, this is it's in the middle for me, so this works out perfectly. I think this is a great spot.
I think a lot of people leave off Dave Bautista's voice work as the Parakeet King as one of his better roles. He's quite good. I think he's really good in that role. This is one of his more stacked casts, which I find personally interesting, considering this very well might be his last movie. It is one of his obviously most, I think, modern and progressive films in terms of visual language and visual style. I agree with you, Ben. The Fire is incredible. Dang, I have this a little bit higher on my personal list, but not that high. I have it at 5. We'll keep it.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, like I said, I really thought on this rewatch that I would be like, okay, this is almost a 5-star movie for me, and I finished it and I was like, no, I feel good about 4, which is a bummer. Yeah. Okay.
I'm described Kiki's Delivery Service to me. I went into that thinking it was going to jump to the top of my list, but I was like, no, it's a great movie that I'll put it number 4 or 4 stars.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. We're just flip-flopped, I guess. I've got number 5. Okay, we are in the top 5 of the Miyazaki films now, and honestly, I can't believe we made it this far. We've put in a lot of good work so far, and I hope it continues.
For crying out loud.
Hope it continues. All right, what do we got left? We got My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, and The Wind Rises. I'll be playing Howl's Moving Castle. I don't know what to tell you guys. I tried to put it at number 9, and we're here at number 5. So my sentiment stands. Not for me.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we all spoke on it. It's number 5 on my personal list. So
okay.
I'm taking this as a personal win because my heart has been ripped out and shredded in front of me. So the fact that it's not in the top 4, that's great.
Huh. Wow. Okay. I'm a little stunned by the flip-flop nature of this collaborative draft.
Yeah. This is exactly the way that I thought this was going to go. Okay. I think there's something about Miyazaki, and that all of his films are a little bit different, but they're all very much Miyazaki. And I think it's just easy to find yourself attaching to certain things more than others. And there are a number of recurring themes in a Miyazaki movie. And I just think, despite that, there's always something else he's wrestling with along with those recurring themes. He's, very much anti-war. The guy loves an airplane. Loves anything that can fly. He loves.
It's incredible.
And so on and so forth. But there's always something that someone else can attach to. So yeah, I knew it was going to happen like this.
Ben, you're the only one with 2 picks left. You got 4 and 1. What do you got at 4?
I mean, you kind of have 2 picks left. But yeah.
I didn't want to say it.
I appreciate it. The good news is, for me personally, if I play this at number 4, my top 3 will be in the top 3. So I'm excited about that. At number 4, I'll be playing The Wind Rises.
Dang.
I feel like let's talk about him loving planes, like that was this, I loved some of the artwork in here. I love when they would go like transparent through the wings to watch them kind of walking through and just how everything's working. I feel like Stanley Tucci should be in everything, like just anything, any movie should have Tucci in it.
Yeah.
On the opposite side of that, I'm not sure Krasinski worked for me that well. It was a little weird.
Wasn't into it.
I didn't dig it.
Also,
that
Herzog.
much.
Herzog should be in everything. I had the same thought. I was like,
yes, yeah,
give me a Herzog appearance.
I just have his name in all caps in my notes. Werner Herzog. It's all it says with 3 exclamation points. Like, fuck yeah, I'd like to see the baby. Like, I love Herzog, so he should be in everything. I really loved the use of human vocals for all the sound effects. I thought that was really kind of ingenious. So cool. Such a fun way to do that. And also it's funny because like, you watch Mononoke and some of these other movies with the violence, but for some reason seeing animated characters smoke was really just like eye-opening to me. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's
and
a thing,
boys
I
are
gush.
Ripping darts.
Oh, they are.
Those ashtrays are overflowing.
So it's fun to see them like engage in what now, culturally is like bad behavior or whatever. It's like, I mean, they would have just been lighting up back then. But I like this movie. This is number 6 for me on my overall list. This was a really fun first time watch. But for me, this, helps keep my top 3 in the top 3. So yeah, Wind Rises at 4.
What I find most effective and most interesting about The Wind Rises is that it is seemingly like Miyazaki's most accessible and most straightforward film. It is like very clear like what we're doing. And I will give you credit, Tyler. I did steal that from your Letterboxd review.
Ooh.
It's because it's true. But what I personally find interesting that he delves into here is the relationship that Jiro has with Caproni and this idea of someone in the past directing the future. And I think that's something he revisits a lot. Obviously, he revisits that in The Boy and the Heron as well 10 years later. But not only that, but like this realization that in order to see a dream manifest, there unfortunately has to be some malice or some poison somewhere in that dream. Again, another Boy and the Heron thematic element that he goes back to. But like that Caproni had this idea of these planes, and Jiro has the same thing about how can I make these good planes and these better planes, and how can I get people to fly and understand what's possible for the future, not only of Japan, but of us as a people. And then the realization that a lot of these aircrafts are used for war, and they're not always used for enjoying the skies of freedom. And I think that's something that Miyazaki does really, really well. I love everything about this movie. This is my number 2 movie. So outside of the top 3 is a little hard for me. Little bit of a gut punch. But this reoccurring idea that Miyazaki goes to in pretty much every movie that he does of the winds of change and the wind directing you and guiding you in your thought process. Obviously here it's like pretty laid out and fleshed out very clearly. But it happens in all of his movies if you watch and pay attention. That's a really good movie. I agree with you on the Krasinski front. I wish we got a different voice, but I love the humanity of this movie. This is the most human-centric movie we get, and I really enjoy that for that aspect.
Yeah. First of all, I can't believe not only did you take Princess Mononoke from me, you stole my review from me.
Dang.
I gave you credit. I gave you credit.
No, I know. I'm honored. I forgot where I was going with that. I really liked the meditation on obsession here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was really heartbroken for Naoko. Is that how you pronounce her name? His wife's name?
Yeah, I think so.
Voiced by Emily Blunt, funnily enough.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Just like banger voice cast. I don't know. I found myself like deeply moved at the ending of this movie, while despite not really connecting with it all the way through. But it was hard for me to not. I realized that it's like an objectively perfect movie. I just don't know how excited I would be to watch it again. I've come to expect like a level of like surrealism and fantasy from Miyazaki, which is something I look forward to when I watch a movie. So I would lean towards some of the more fantastic Miyazaki movies, or some of the more whimsical or whatever fantastic Miyazaki movies, before I revisited this one. But like, as I sat with it, I realized, like, I teared up at the end. I was genuinely moved, and it's a beautiful story, and it's had me thinking since I watched it. I think I watched it last night, 2 days ago maybe. And but I just, for those reasons, I just was like, well, for who I am, it's gonna stay a little bit lower on my personal list. But I think 3 is. I've seen people online say this is his masterpiece, and I think there's a lot of people that would argue this is his best film, and I don't begrudge them of that. It's just not what I'm looking for in a movie made by Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was hoping that point would get brought up, because I tend to prefer the more grounded nature of Miyazaki films, as opposed to some of these things that we have at the bottom, like Ponyo, like Princess Mononoke. Like, I like the more realistic ones. And I know we have all 3 movies that we're about to talk about have some element of like a fantastical magic. So I get that. But also, if I rewatch The Wind Rises, I would not be surprised if I give it 5 stars. I'll just put it at that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Tyler, you've got number 3.
So
Ben still has a veto here, though.
Yeah, and I know it's going to get vetoed, because I'm pretty sure Ben's higher on this movie than I am, because I think, if my theory holds true, that a person's entry point into Miyazaki tends to be among the top of their list. I think this was Ben's entry point into Miyazaki. It's a movie that I've already tried and failed to play, and I'm going to play Kiki's Delivery Service at number 3.
Please, Ben, I beg of you, don't let this happen.
Here's the thing. This wasn't my entry. This is actually my first time watch for this pod. So
but I think my theory might still hold true.
What I'm trying to figure out is, out of the other 2 movies, which one would Tyler play? And I don't know. And I don't know how much I want to take that risk. Because
we could, Tyler, you want to be collaborative? This is the time here.
That collaboration was ripped out of me at pick number 9.
That's
the
gone.
bloodbath at 9. We have the battle of number 9. It'll forever be done.
Yeah. Dang it. I gotta have Kiki's higher. It has to be higher.
It's my number 2. It's my number 2.
It's my number 1. Like, let's just reveal we're in the top 3 now. This is my number 1. This is my only 5-star Miyazaki film.
Some of us have our number 1s at number 9, so you're not going to. You're going to get crocodile.
I didn't bring that reality. You caused that. You and your boy in the hair into that shit. You hit yourself in the head.
You, unfortunately, as DJ Khaled would say, played yourself. Because if I know that you're going to play Kiki's at number 1, I'm not going to let that happen. So I can't use my veto.
And you know he's going to.
So
why though? Why can't we? 5-star masterpiece movie. Why can't we have that at the top of the list?
Because there's a 5-star movie masterpiece that needs to be number 1, in my opinion.
So at a 6 star.
Dang it!
Unfortunately, it's top 3. It's not bad. Kiki's will live here at number 3. Now, yeah.
You will rue this day, Ben. You will rue the day.
Speak on it, Ethan. What do you love so much about Kiki's Delivery Service?
I think it's perfect. I think Kiki's great, and I love Kiki.
Not an answer.
Look, as I have a connection to this movie that you guys don't have. I have a young daughter, and so to see that narrative of like a young girl, young enough, 13, going into 13, traveling away from home, having to evolve to a level where she has to live by herself, has to prove to herself every day she has the skills necessary to do what it takes to survive. I think is just a deeply emotional and moving narrative. Like, to see her live out this idea, find her calling, find what she's good at, and be just like this cute little young witch that's like going through trials and tribulations of like, I want this boy to like me, but also I want to be a good witch and I want to be good and serviceable to my customers. And it's really boring to sit in a bread store with no customers. And I have a really cute, black cat voiced by Phil Hartman. And like, I'm just trying to find my identity. And I just resonated with that. I thought that was beautiful and wonderful. And I think like the post credits of this, I was like, not like sobbing, but I was like crying. I was like, oh wow. Like she sent a letter back to her family and was like, hey guys, love you. I'm doing good. And it's like, damn, you did it. Like, I know it's about witches and I know it's about magic and like that's the Miyazaki of everything, but like the very first scene when the like the Nook gets left at the bread shop and he's like, I can do that. I was like, let's fucking go, girl. Like, let's go deliver that to the baby. I just really jammed with it. I thought it was good. But we should put it in number 3. You're right.
Ben, should we have kids so that we can finally understand what it means to be a human?
Yes.
So we can actually understand human emotion and what it means to grow up in the world and find yourself. So. Yeah. Is that something we should do? I feel
like we're going to find it difficult
to be human. So
yeah, it's gonna be hard. Let's revisit.
Look, I get that. Yeah. I get that. There is a perspective that you gain having your own children. I do have children in my life that I care about deeply,
of course. Yeah,
and so I get all that. But they're not mine. I could just hand them off when they start to cry. But
I mean, this movie's like very Spider-Man coded as well. Like it's literally Spider-Man, but a young animated girl. And I think that's pretty cool. The same way that like Castle of Cagliostro, when I was watching that, I was like, oh, this is so Mission Impossible coded. Like I can see what we're doing here. Yeah. Like MI definitely took from this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, this is a personal favorite that I will be putting on again before long, for sure. Like I finished this movie and I was like, cool, I'm gonna buy the Steelbook and I'm gonna find all the Kiki merch, and I think this is just a perfect film.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to add. This is,
thanks for letting me get that out.
This is like the most charming Miyazaki movie. Yes, I think. Yeah. I love charming. This.
Yeah, very sweet. Yeah,
I kept waiting for like the character that she runs into in the forest. Like, oh, gonna turn into a witch and that's our protagonist. Here we go. But like nothing kept happening. It's like, oh, we're just hanging out. That's cool. I dig this. Like this is like the protagonist is just like herself. You know what I mean? Like she's just like learning how to be self-sufficient and whatever. Like I don't know. It was cool. I love this movie. It's like I said, it's my number 2. But knowing that Ethan would force this to be number 1, I'm not vetoing this. What do you mean
force this to be number 1? You always paint me as the bad guy. Only movie that Janine Garofalo is voicing. Just want to put that out there. We love Janine on this pod.
As an animated character too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, absolute babe. It's unreal. It's unreal. Okay.
Probably my favorite city that Miyazaki grew. I'd have to revisit a couple, but I like my Letterboxd review was like, I'm going on Zillow and I'm looking for apartments in whatever the name of that town is. Like, sign me up. A walkable town with friendly people and cool bakeries and a beach. Come on.
Yeah, and I like that people are just like, oh, you're a witch. It's like, oh, this isn't weird for you. You're just a witch. That's cool.
That was one thing I thought was funny is that she talked about I guess Phil Hartman talked about Gigi, talked about how unfriendly the town was. I was like, I thought people were generally chill, but it's a busy. It's like the same. It's my same argument against the New Yorkers are mean trope or argument. Like they're not mean. They're just fucking busy, dude. They got shit to do. They got places to go. They live in a big city. They got to get to the subway or they're going to be late to work. They're not mean. They just get the fuck out of their way.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of how I felt about her introduction. And she handled it way better than Gigi did, I thought. She was just like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll figure it out. I'm a witch. That's what we do. But yeah.
Dang, this is a good one, guys. The Town of Koriko is what it is called. Okay. Well, my number 1 is at number 3 because I was just honest with you guys and I shared my heart and you were like, oh, you played yourself. Good one, Ethan. It's all about strategy. So I do get to pick number 2 and essentially pick number 1. But Ben does have a veto. So I guess if you really care, what
But the override's still out there, so
the override's still out there. I really think
it literally comes down to this. It literally comes down to this.
The 2 movies that are available are like, I think pretty synonymous with the 1 and 2s in the general public. At number 2, I'm going to be playing a movie that is honestly significantly lower on my personal list. I have a really soft spot for it in my heart, but not when I find myself itching to revisit on a regular basis. I'm going to be playing My Neighbor Totoro at number 2, which would defunct then to Spirited Away at number 1. But are we good with Totoro at number 2?
Fine by me.
I personally am. I'm fine with that. I was oscillating between like, I was doing like 3-card money with like maybe Princess Mononoke is my number 1, and maybe Spirited Away is, and maybe Totoro is. At certain points, they've all been at number 1, but I decided to go with my heart, and only to have it destroyed. This watching My Neighbor Totoro is probably the only time that I've like openly wept in the last like year. I got teared up at The Wind Rises, like I talked about, and at various other points in my life, which we don't need to go into. But Totoro just hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting, and I sat kind of floored and just kind of in awe of how lucky we are to have a person like Hayao Miyazaki presenting his imagination to the world. And absolutely loved it. Absolutely. Yeah. If it was number 1, I'd be fine. If it, but Tuesday.
This was the number 1 animated film on the 2012 Sight and Sound list, which
nice.
I think is notable, to say the least. I mean, yeah, I have 2 young daughters, so like I connect with Mei and Satsuki like dearly, and my girls are obsessed. Like we watched, I watched the majority of Kiki's Delivery Service by myself. We watched like the back 30 minutes together because they saw me watching it in my office, and they were like, "Hey, can we watch it with you?" So I put it on out in the living room, and there is a moment where there is a girl in that movie that looks remarkably similar to Mei from Totoro. And both of my girls were like Leo pointing at the screen. They were that looks exactly like Mei. And I was like, dang, you guys are connected to Totoro. Like you guys get it. You are locked in. Extremely sad movie. Extremely devastating. And gorgeous. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, sorry, Ben. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just curious, is Kiki the movie that you said is going to be a comfort watch for you moving forward?
Yeah, for me, yes. I mean, we have Totoro on all the time in our house. Like, if my girls are like, I want to watch a movie, and I'm like, okay, great. You can pick from Singing in the Rain or for the 100th time, or you can watch Totoro. They're big fans of Ponyo. And then Ben, much to your chagrin, Grease is in the mix as well. So those
3 out of 4 ain't bad. Yeah, not too bad.
Make sure you understand misogyny.
Yeah. You distill it early.
The dangers.
This is a horrible take that I disagree with, but I'm still going to say it. I kind of want to see a live action My Neighbor Totoro. Like, I think it'd be so fun to watch, because this movie is so fun, but I just picture it, it's kind of, as we talked about earlier, but Monsters Inc. vibe. It's just like, it's like Sully, but like 10 times bigger, it's just like this soft theme. Like, I want to see what that looks like now. Having said that, this is like basically a perfect movie, and no one should ever make a live action version of that. So like, I disagree with everything I just said, but the heart wants what it wants. I think this movie is, Cat Bus, like who the fuck comes up with Cat Bus? Like that thing it's so cool. This movie's great.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It's my number 3, but I'm happy with it at number 2.
Was this your entry point to Miyazaki, Ben?
Yeah, this was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this and what will be number 1, Spirited Away, were like the first 2 I saw before we watched them for the pod.
Yeah.
Well, that takes us to the conversation of number 1, Ben. Do you want to, for formality's sake here, do you want to put your pick on the board?
For me, it's the perfect Miyazaki film. If someone asked me like, hey, I haven't watched any, like what's going to kind of give me the vibe of what this guy's all about, I would tell them to watch Spirited Away. You get like the ghost, you get the creatures, you get the, you know, little girl protagonists, which we get in plenty of these movies. You get, I think, the best looking Ghibli food, you know, when the parents are just like going to town, like that whole sequence is amazing. And to me, you get one of my favorite characters of all time, No Face, which I love. I love it. It's just like it's just, I don't need to gender No Face. I don't know what the fuck it is, but like, they're just like perfect. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I love them, and I love this movie so much. It's just like the humans turning into like the animals and the like I don't know what to say about it. Like it's just, for me, it's a perfect film. It's my 5-star for Miyazaki. Not to say the others couldn't be after rewatches. Shout out Ponyo number 12. What up? But yeah, Spirited Away for me is the far and away number 1 best movie.
There's something about Spirited Away where all of kind of I mean, I guess I'm essentially repeating what you're saying, Ben, but everything that Miyazaki does, the ingredients that make up a Miyazaki movie just come together so perfectly in Spirited Away. There is, I mean, it is wildly surreal, but at the same time, there's just something about it that just seems accessible and something that you find yourself connecting to, and there's something that feels like comfortable about it, despite it being like objectively horrifying, the world that this little girl finds herself in. And there's just like a beautiful quietness to it, even though it's not a quiet movie. There's a lot going on, but it has this like when I think of Spirited Away, I think of like this like sort of like strange stillness, and I think it's maybe because it's so well punctuated by the train ride, that like the ghostly train ride.
So beautiful.
I feel like it just leads up to that moment, and there's just this strange stillness despite the insanity that we've seen before our eyes. And there's just something about the mix. He put all the spices in just perfectly. And
apparently this movie was going to be more than 3 hours long if Miyazaki made it according to his plot and the way that he wanted to do things, and he had to remove a lot of the eye candy in the film in order to cut it down and remove scenes.
That's insane.
Which is wild. Like, give us the 3-hour cut of Spirited Away. Like, absolutely.
Like, what more eye candy could there possibly be?
Right, right. This is my number 3 on my list. I know I'm going to fall more in love with this when I watch it again. I think, obviously, this big recurring theme that Miyazaki goes to of like a young hero or heroine and their parents and generational legacy and what that might mean to the children, to the parents, those types of things. This, I'm trying to discern if my 6-year-old is ready for this movie yet, because No Face is pretty intense, I will say. Like, from an animation perspective, obviously we get like the 6-armed man in this movie as well. Soot sprites reoccur here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool things. We get John Ratzenberger being a toad, which I think is really cool as well. But yeah, I think she'll be ready soon. I think it is like a perfect elevated Miyazaki level of like, cool, you've seen Totoro, you've seen Ponyo. Here's the real Miyazaki. Here's really what he's trying to get at with his movies. And obviously that goes over a 6 or 7-year-old's head, of course. But I was freaked the fuck out when her parents turned into pigs. Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, cool, those are disgusting. Like, those are sick as hell. Yeah, Spirited Away. Good. Great. Excellent film.
I think it's universally regarded as the best Miyazaki film. I said, I've seen a lot of people make the case for The Wind Rises, and I won't begrudge them that case. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where I have my heart pick Princess Mononoke at number 1, but it interchangeable with Totoro. But I do recognize that Spirited Away is like universally regarded as the best. I mean, it won an Oscar for did it win Best Picture, or was it just Best Animated? I can't remember exactly. But
let's see.
Animated.
Let's see here. 75th
There were-
Academy Awards. It won Best Animated Feature.
Okay, that's right. But yeah, I don't know. It just I think if we came out of this draft with Spirited Away at not number one, let me say this. I think it being at number one it apologizes for whatever problems anyone else might have with our list, because we at least got this right, I think, is what people will say. So I think we ended up in the right place. I think it's a good list. There's some that I would shuffle around, but yeah.
Well, as the brutalist would mention, it's not the journey, it's the destination. So, Tyler, as long as you're happy with the destination, then I feel semi good about this exercise. Ben, how do you feel about the exercise we've completed?
It's a tale of two feelings, because my number one is my number one, and then my sweet Ponyo is down there at the bottom. It's like I'm sad and I'm happy at the same time.
Well, very Miyazaki coded, I would say, as many of his movies are. Okay, let me read the results of the Miyazaki collaborative draft. A draft that was exponentially more difficult and longer than I ever thought it would be. I was like, cool, we're going to wrap this in 100 minutes. And we are going on 120 minutes right now. Number 12, Ponyo. Number 11, The Castle of Cagliostro. Number 10, Castle in the Sky. Number 9, Princess Mononoke. Number 8, Porco Rosso. Number 7, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Number 6, The Boy and the Heron. Number 5, Howl's Moving Castle. Number 4, The Wind Rises. Number 3, Kiki's Delivery Service. R.I.P. Number 2, My Neighbor Totoro. And number 1, the best Hayao Miyazaki film is Spirited Away. I feel really good about what we've accomplished. It took us a long time to get there. And I think I come out the least scathed in this draft. I got to be honest with you guys. I think that, like, Kiki at number 3 is minimal damage compared to your sweet Ponyo and your sweet Princess Mononoke. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I
so
mean,
even though there's not a real winner, I feel like I won.
You took both of our heart picks and took them behind the building and shot them in the head. You're just like, you're number 12, you're number 9.
Bop, bop. Get out of here.
Happened.
Bottom third. Get out of here.
You're out. Man, well, pod a long time in the making, both preemptively and in real time here on the Movie Draft Podcast. Tyler, huge thanks for joining us on the pod. If people want to find more of you, where can they find you at?
Eventually, hopefully, someday, you'll see unsung gems popping up on your podcast feeds and your Twitter sphere, your X sphere. And you can find me there at some point, or don't. I don't know. I'm just happy to be here. I love coming on this show. It's always a pleasure to talk to the both of you. And hopefully next time I'll get to return the favor, Ethan.
Will not forget this.
Hopefully not. Ben, thanks for co-hosting with me. I appreciate it.
Yes, this was for the most part a lot of fun, and I had a good time.
Well, I'm really glad. I'm really looking forward to opening my Letterboxd app one morning and just all of the recent activity being all of your Miyazaki films.
Oh, for sure.
Can't wait for that day. Be sure to listen and subscribe to the Movie Draft Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes will be released weekly on Tuesdays. We'll see you then.